abuse.
Oh yeah, tremendous fraud. There's tremendous fraud, and it's hard to believe that you can have that kind of fraud. You're talking about are you talking about what? Wait. Which are you talking?
You can just tell that he's fired up right now. You could just tell. Just, you could feel it through the computer.
You're talking about with regard to all of the investigations that are going on about this stupidity. What we're going to do is tomorrow I'm having a news conference. I'm going to read to you some of the names that hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars have been given to. And if you tell me that we should be giving money to those things, those entities, I think you'll probably have to leave as a reporter because you're not very talented. When you look at the kind of money, billions and billions of dollars being thrown away illegally, and there's no chance. I mean, I say it in front of our Attorney General, that there's no chance that there's not kickbacks or something going on. When you give millions and millions of dollars to somebody that stands to look at something for 15 minutes and walks away with millions of dollars, that money's coming back.
I'd like that job.
Form. And that's only one form of corruption.
Anyone else?
The biggest thing is what they do to our country. They're taking massive amounts of money and spending it on items. I went through a list of 200 expenditures that were made, and I found 3 that looked like they were reasonable. Okay, 3. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow. We have a lot of stuff, and I want to commend Elon
3.
Because he's done a fantastic. He doesn't need this. He's
200.
abused by you people every day.
Makes sense.
He's found more things than anybody could find. I think he's got the credibility to do it. I know he does. And
one thing about Elon, the guy runs billion-dollar companies. He's the richest man in the world. He has robots. He has satellite in space. He has Tesla, self-driving cars. He has brain implant chips, and now he's running government at the highest level, Doge efficiency. The guy is a freak. Does he have a chip in his brain? Who knows how he does the things he does.
It's his group of people. They started off with 12. I call them 12 geniuses. They started off with 12, and they went to 20 and 25, and now they're up to almost 100. People are joining to help them because there's a massive fraud that's taken place. And then you have judges that are activists. And
I don't want to be crude, but did you hear about the story about the guy that works with Elon? The kid, actually, he's like 19 years old. He's a genius. He goes by the name Big Balls, and the mainstream media, they can't take it. So all they're doing is focusing on that this person named Big Balls has access to all of our sensitive information. What is Elon doing? He's ruining the country. Meanwhile, they're being exposed for the fraudsters that they are, but they haven't said a lick about that. So that shows you their intentions. That shows you where their mind's at. They're trying to manipulate you, us, so we focus on the wrong thing. It's so obvious now. It's been obvious to me, but it's even more obvious now with all these events that have taken place just recently.
And they sit there and they say, as an example, $59 million going to a little small group in New York City. You get nothing going to North Carolina to help them.
$59 million?
We don't have any money because they've given it away on the border. But you have nothing. What they did to North Carolina is a shame. And then they sent $59 million to New York City for a hotel for a little bit of what they've done. A hotel that was not luxury, that's getting luxury rates for migrants, where they're making a fortune.
It's not even luxury.
We catch them.
It's crazy.
But a judge says, well, even though it may be a fraud, you have to send the money in anyway. Send the money. I said, wait a minute.
What?
We have money.
Send the money in anyway.
Shouldn't go because we caught it before it was sent out. But they want the money to go anyway. And I think you're going to have a lot of things to look at, Pam. I really do. What's going on with this whole thing. And this is just one group.
What do you mean send the money in anyway? A thief steals a car, a Porsche, worth $120,000, and he steals the car successfully, but then he is caught after the fact. He goes to court. He's before the judge. He's going to be sentenced. The judge says, you are going to do 10 years for grand larceny, grand theft auto, grand larceny, whatever the hell it's called, okay? But you can keep the Porsche. What? The rules don't matter for us. For them, they do what they want. So obviously this judge that's telling him this, that they need to keep the money, he's still in their pocket. He's still part of the deep state. He's still the ones, he's trying to control the outcome of the events. He's trying to make it less painful for his cohorts. They're about to be exposed any day now.
We haven't talked about Department of Education. We haven't talked about the military. We haven't talked about a lot of things that are very big. And what's happened is, as an example, you'll have cases where you have a 3-month contract, and maybe the guy that signs the contract leaves. Maybe he gets rich. All of a sudden he leaves for that reason. But you have a 3-month contract, and maybe he leaves. So the contract is sitting there, and the people signing the checks don't know it's 3 months, and it goes on for years. The 3 months turns out to be 3 years, 5 years,
Expect
10
them
years.
to say something?
Just goes on forever.
They're not going to say something.
And
They're normal
the guy
people.
on the other side of the contract just keeps getting check after check after check, because Elon had an expression yesterday, because nobody...
Look, most people who find a purse on the ground, on the sidewalk outside their house with $50,000 in it, they're not going to turn it in. Most people. Maybe 5 out of 100 will turn it in, but most won't. So this is expected.
Elon had an expression yesterday, because nobody cares. It's a great expression. Nobody cares.
Sonny talking to Cologito from A Bronx Tale. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. But that's where Elon got that from. Nobody cares, kid. Nobody cares. He's right. They don't.
The guy that signed the contract didn't care. Maybe there, may not be there. Maybe crooked. Who knows? But you have to care. Otherwise, you can't really run a thing like that, or you can't run a country, really. Because there's so many transactions. Thousands and thousands of transactions. And if you don't have people that care, you're going to lose control. And that's what's happened. And we've caught it. Now, what we caught is billions and billions of dollars, but it's a tiny fraction of the real number. Because you can never catch the real number, because people have gotten away with tremendous amounts of money. But I said we have to make our government smaller, more efficient, more effective, and a lot less expensive. And we could find $1 trillion, but we're being hindered by courts, where they file in certain courts where it's very hard to win. And a judge will stop us, and a judge will say that it doesn't make any difference what you find. You just keep paying the money. That's a hell of a way to be. And I follow the courts. I have to follow the law. All it means is that we appeal. But that gives people time to cover their tracks.
When you see the yellow light on
And
your
that's what they do. So it's a very bad thing that's taking place. But hopefully, if the courts will be fair. They don't.
Hey, look, all this is doing is putting a bright light on the next person that we got to take down, right? These judges that are saying just they need to be paid anyway, they're just exposing themselves as corrupt, and the next person in line that needs to fall by the wrecking ball, which is President Trump. So keep exposing yourself, okay? This way we know exactly who needs to go down next.
They don't have to be very fair. They just have to be a little bit fair, because this is so egregious what's taken place. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Nobody's seen numbers like this. These are massive numbers. $9 million for somebody to go and stand in a store and see how people shop. Okay? I mean, you take a look at these things. It's a disgrace. And then you have a country that we want to...
Why does that remind me of the Seinfeld episode with the security guard who was standing up, and George couldn't take the fact that he was standing up all day. He offers him a chair. He falls asleep immediately. That gentleman is within a cohort of people who are paid $9 million to fall asleep while watching people shop. Awesome.
Make America great again. And very hard to make America great again when you have things like this. And you're going to see the same thing. Department of Education is going to be a disaster. The military, I mean, I see it. Look, I came in, they had a contract done, as you know, for $5.7 billion for airplanes. It was Air Force One with Boeing. 5.7, I got it down to $4 billion, little less than that, 1 penny less than that. $3 billion, $999, $999, and 99 cents. They said, I said, it has to have a 3 in
That's
front of it,
awesome.
because I wouldn't sign the contract for $5.7 billion.
$2
I was able
billion.
to cut $1.7 billion off the price.
That's great.
And it didn't take me long.
I love to hear that.
$1.7 billion. If people would care, they'd be able to do that with every single contract that's put before them. And we wouldn't have deficits. We'd have nothing but a tremendously low-taxed, wonderful country. But they have to care. And speaking of that, Boeing, we're not happy with the service we're getting in terms of those planes. They would like to get more money. We're not happy about that whole thing. We signed a very strong contract. I signed a guaranteed maximum contract, which I haven't seen in a long time.
A maximum
and
contract.
they're saying they're getting hurt by it, but they have to produce the product.
I don't know what that is.
Expect them to produce the product. They have to produce the product. They agreed to build planes at a certain price. They're not used to that. They're used to having time and material contracts, where it's whatever it costs, time and material, no dates, no anything. It ends up costing 5 times more. You look at some of the ships that have been built. Take a look at the Gerald Ford, the aircraft carrier, the Ford. It was supposed to cost $3 billion. It ends up costing like $18 billion. And they make, of course, all electric catapults.
Hold on. So the aircraft carrier was supposed to cost $3 billion, but it costs $18 billion. Can you imagine hiring a contractor to your house to do your roof, let's say, and he says it's going to be $18,000 and it's going to take a day to get done, but it really takes 6 days to get done, and then he gives you a bill for like $46,000? It's unbelievable. Would you pay them? No, of course you wouldn't pay them. But we've been paying these types of deals all along. Evidently, time and material, he said, right? I think that's what that means. That however long it takes for whatever it costs, the work that needs to be done needs to get paid. It's nonsense.
Which don't work. And they have all magnetic elevators to lift up 25 planes at a time, 20 planes at a time. And instead of using hydraulic, like on tractors that can handle anything from...
I'm not sure who's right here in this picture, but Mr. Trump needs to be there. Yeah, definitely. Nobody's doing what he is doing. Nobody's done what he's doing.
Hurricanes to lightning to anything, they use magnets. It's a new theory, magnets that
pretty
lift
cool.
the planes up, and it doesn't work. And they had billions
Magnets
and billions of dollars of
very
cost
strong.
overruns. I met the architect. I said, have you designed a ship before? This is one of the biggest ships in the world. It's like landing at LaGuardia Airport. But you look at the kind of waste from...
The architect designing one of the biggest ships in the world. He said it's like landing at LaGuardia Airport. He asks him if he's ever built a ship before. They're hiring people to do the biggest projects in the world that may have never done a project like that prior? Is that what he's saying?
Fraud and abuse.
I can't
this country
take
is
it.
going
I can't
through.
take it.
We have to straighten it out. We have great people going into the military in terms of we need ships, we need a lot of things. So we have great people going, we have business people going in. But when you look at what's happened to our purchasing, and when you look at the USAID, when you look at the things that they're giving to them, the billions of dollars that they're giving to, and it doesn't make sense. It is interesting that when you're looking for fraud, you look at items, hundreds of items, and you'll find one or two, maybe, if you're lucky. Here's something where you look at it, and they're all fraudulent. By just looking at the topic, they're all fraudulent.
Why wouldn't they be?
Except it's the opposite. You'll find one or two that's like a legitimate reason. So
Unreal.
I just want to thank Elon for going through it. I want to thank all the people that are working with him. We have a big group of people. I think the lowest IQ is about 160. That's very high.
This makes me very unsettled, okay? The fact that all of this has been going on behind the scenes, we wouldn't be privy to this forever unless President Trump came in with Doge and Elon and uncovered all of this, right? They're playing us like fools right to our face. They're like, we're just going to keep on doing what we need to do, and we're going to give them an opposite narrative, and we're going to spin it and manipulate them, and we're just going to keep pounding that narrative in their face, okay? And they're just going to disregard their own gut feelings and disregard common sense because we're telling them what to believe. We're creating the narrative for them, okay? We appear on the blue box, on the glowing box in their living rooms. So that's the truth. That's the truth that we're going to purport to them, even though it's not reality. Unbelievable.